Welcome to the Liberated Feminine Podcast. I'm Lucy Lampy, your host, and in this episode, we're exploring true divine masculine energy. What we have come to know as masculinity, collectively, men and women alike, is more of a distorted masculine expression, wounded masculine, shadow masculine. And there is a huge difference between that and a healthy, integrated, anchored into love and truth and a higher service to that higher love kind of masculinity. Now, I also want to say before we go deeper into this episode that this is not just about men. Yes, there is this big piece, right, about the men in our lives, the men that we're in relationship with. But also there's this piece about our inner masculine. So keep that in mind as well as we go through this episode and the various points that I'm going to walk you through. The first thing that the place that I love to begin is in this concept of inner union. Now, there is the union that you have, the connection that you have with that source masculine, that source divine consciousness of divine masculine. And then there is the harmony between your inner feminine and your inner masculine. What a lot of us find is, as women, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard women say, well, I'm just too in my masculine. How do I be more in my feminine? And I like to get really curious at this point. Okay, what does it look like for you to be too in your masculine? And a lot of times what I hear back is exactly what I experienced as well for a lot of my adult life, which is basically being in a state of survival. And that's not masculine energy. To be in a state of being so overwhelmed by the logistics of life, to have to think about, putting fires out and what chaos you can avoid, that's not you being in your masculine. That's you just having to survive. Okay, so let's make that distinction right off the bat. And another thing that often comes up that, again, I've also experienced in my journey, most of my adult life, is when our masculine energy is coming out in a distorted, unhealthy way. What does that look like? Well, in my day-to-day, for example, it looked like not making space for my emotions, steamrolling my feelings for the sake of productivity. It's all about the goal. That's what matters, the mission, the milestone, whatever it takes to get there. If that means I don't get to feel my feelings, so be it. If that means that the pain in my body is not being acknowledged, so be it. And this is exactly how I got to the point in my life almost a decade ago now where I developed an autoimmune disorder. That was my body screaming at me, hello, this shit is not working anymore. You cannot abandon your needs. You can't abandon your heart. You can't shut off your heart and expect there to not be very real consequences in your life. Because that is what the distorted masculine does. It extorts, extracts, and takes advantage of the feminine. Think of, what we've done as humanity to the earth. What we've done to the feminine in the form of Mother Earth. Pillaged, stolen from, completely just like plowed through and taken all the resources in some areas, It's like that. If you think of the unhealthy masculine expression in yourself is the one that will do that. Because the healthy integrated masculine within you will fiercely protect your inner feminine. And this is why to really truly have the kind of the kind of intimate relationship that will be so nourishing to your heart, that you're really longing for in the deepest level, and for you to feel the most at home in your body and comfortable and confident and sovereign, you must integrate your inner masculine. And so this video, I'm not going super deep into that. If that's something that you're interested in exploring more, then check out the courses that I have available. But even prior to that, there is this piece of returning to wholeness with the source masculine. So for you, this could be present in the expression or form of divine father consciousness. Maybe you call this God. Maybe you call it something else. Everyone has their own connection with this, right? It's unique to you. I understand that God can be a loaded word. As someone who went through a whole deconstruction and reconstruction of faith, I had to, navigate my way through that. So there, for me, I connect with this unconditionally there for me, accepting of me, Father presence, Father consciousness, and also this completely nurturing and loving and lovingly guiding, not always comfortably, but lovingly, truthfully, mother consciousness. And the two of these, for me in my own journey, just reclaiming that connection for myself brought so many pieces home. It put so many pieces together and created this foundation from which I could build the way I relate to other people, the way my inner feminine and masculine relate, etc. So I do want to mention that, again, before moving on, that your connection with that source really matters. And when you let that teach you what it feels like to be in the presence of the sacred masculine, of the sacred feminine, there is a soul recognition that happens when you see that in someone else and when you see that in yourself. And you're like, there it is. There's that integrity. There's that anchored in, that groundedness. There's that, you got me feeling. And so then you are no longer choosing, chasing, or attracting from a place of woundedness and lack, but from a place of sovereignty and wholeness. Now, the distorted masculine, we've talked about what that can look like, right? Overriding your inner feminine, trying to justify the things that your intuition just knows, making fun of, that's too woo-woo, to your inner oracle when she fucking knows. But the integrated healthy masculine, as I mentioned, is fiercely protective of the feminine. What does this look like in your day-to-day life? What can it look like? Again, in the example of myself, what that began to look like was having containers for myself to feel deeply, to be in my process, to create, to express, to just receive the inspiration and act on it. Because your inner feminine energy, without containment, is going to either drown what's around her, or it's just going to fizzle out because she's just flowing everywhere. She has no direction. So what your inner masculine does is it says, here's where we're going. Here is the purpose. Here is the vision. Here is the mission. And what do you need from me? Whatever it is, I'm here to provide that. He's not out there taking an extended smoke break, as one of my clients says. I love it. She's like, my inner masculine is taking a smoke break, and it's like, okay, man, it's time to come back and like get with the program. But he's not out there just, resenting his responsibilities or neglecting them altogether. He is devoted to that vision. So your inner masculine, when that true divine masculine is on board with the vision of whatever it is that your soul is here to do, whatever it is that you're doing in this season of your life right now, it makes everything flow so much easier. This is where your inner feminine gets to really be in that flow, be in that more soft space, surrendered space, because you know that this is where you're going. And there's harmony. There's not this inner friction of like, you feel like you have to force something and like, you have to talk yourself into showing up for your rituals and doing the thing like writing your book or doing the course or writing the post. And so instead it's coming from this place of like, needs to be done. Bet, I got it. I got you. Let's do it. Let's just check that off the list. And if you need a break to grieve because some feelings came up when you did that thing that you haven't done in a lot of years and it brought up a lot of, feelings around an old relationship or whatever, I'll protect the space for you to have that processing time. You see? Another way that this can look very logistically, your inner masculine really holding your inner feminine, is, let's say you create structures in your day-to-day life, right? Things that you know will be nourishing for you. Things that help you to be in a more well-resourced state so that you can show up the best you can to your life. And so inner masculine says, okay, we're going to show up. We're going to do, for me right now, it's like we're going to get up and you're going to do your walk every day. And in that space, what do you want to listen to? Do you want to listen to a podcast? Do you want to listen to music? Do you want to just kind of like vibe off some ideas that you have and just voice notes? Inner feminine, what's coming alive in you? But meanwhile, inner masculine is saying, oh, here's the space I'm providing for you. And now what do you want to fill it with? What do you want to express or create in this space? What do you want to release in this space? So it's not monotonous or robotic or rigid. And also, when the inner masculine is really coming from a loving place, let's say that one day, right now I'm 7 months pregnant, right? Things are getting real. Real. Let's say that one day I'm at my usual walking time. I'm just feeling like, man, I really need to take a nap, or I really need to go back to bed, or I just need to eat, or I need to meditate, I need to dance. And so inner masculine will say, all right, let's pivot today. He's not saying, well, come on, you got to do it anyways. You said that you were going to do it. And if you don't do it, you're a failure and I'm ashamed of you. You can't, I've said this before and I will say it again. You can't shame yourself into improving. You can't shame yourself into expanding. You can only do that from a place of genuine love. So, the masculine, the true sacred masculine, he is not rigid. He's not attached to certain systems or ways of doing things. He is attuned to the feminine. He is open to the messages of that oracle of your feminine. And he's also going to hold the line. He's going to hold the vision and say, all right, well, how are we showing up? If we're not showing up like this, let's figure out how we can show up. Instead of giving up altogether and then spiraling into shame of I didn't do my walk today. I didn't write my post today. I'm worthless. And we might not say these words, but you can really certainly feel it. Now, in relationships, I know y'all been waiting for this too. How does this look and how does a healthy integrated masculine look in relationship? Now I want to, this is a lot. Let's see, how can I condense this? Let's explore some ways that distorted masculine shows up in relationship. Okay, two ends of the spectrum. The first is just like the other example of the inner masculine, when let's say the man, the more masculine bodied person, let's just say man and woman in this, just for the sake of simplicity. Let's say that the man is overbearing, controlling, has addictive behaviors, escapes, has unhealthy coping mechanisms, and then pushes her away, withdraws, shuts down his feelings. That's one end of the spectrum. Again, this is the unhealthiest expressions of distorted masculine, where he feels like in order to lead, he has to control. And there's a big difference between controlling and offering containment. There's a big difference between being a tyrant and, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like a tyrannical dictator versus being a true leader who serves from the heart, whose heart is in the service to the greater vision, to the whole of the unit of everyone involved. Now, on the other end of the unhealthy spectrum are the distorted expressions of, basically stuck as a little boy. The little boy who wants to please mommy, the little boy who's afraid to piss her off and then he doesn't want to deal with the consequences of her big emotions. And so he will just people please. He will abandon himself. He's the nice guy. We have the bad boy, right? The tyrannical one, but he knows what he wants and he does it and he doesn't give a fuck, And then there's the nice guy. I'm not talking about kind guys. Big difference. Maybe a different episode on this will be helpful too, just for this one piece. But to give you an overview, I'm talking about the niceness that comes with being too fucking scared to be in your truth, to be in your integrity, to speak that boundary. And one example of how this shows up in relationship, especially in the space of spirituality and conscious relationship and feminine, masculine embodiment, polarity, all these things, is that men will be told and taught to withstand her emotional storm to the point that I would call it emotional abuse. And I wouldn't even go there and speak on this if I had not been someone who has done that. All right, listen, there was some time, there was a period of, I want to say a year and a half. Year and a half was a messy period within my previous relationship, within my marriage, where I was just learning how to speak my truth and stand up for myself and advocate for my needs and even just figure out what my needs were, where it would come out in such a distorted way, in such an unhealthy, just disintegrated. And it's part of the process too. You learn, you live and you learn, right? But sometimes in the name of being real and raw, I was abusive, emotionally, verbally. Low blows. I mean, we're talking just that really pushed me to define what the healthy parameters were in sharing my feminine truth. Because honestly, there are some things in our feminine truth. It's not that they're not true, they're not real, and they're not valid, but not every single feeling needs to be brought into the space. And there is so much, again, with the dark feminine that we get to do for our egos to be humbled first. With her. With the dark goddess, with the mother consciousness. She'll sit your ass down and be like, listen, this is wounded little princess energy. This is not who you actually are. This is a pattern in your body. This is a self-protection mechanism. This is a way that you seemingly retain more control. But this is not working anymore. This is expired. It's time to expand beyond this. It's time to be a grown woman now. So she will humble you, let her purify your channel so that you can present the truth to your partner in the most distilled, deep wisdom way that you possibly can. It's not about getting it perfect. We are all a work in progress. It's just about being even just being aware of that step. And the distorted masculine in the nice guy archetype, when he doesn't know what to do with that, when she does overstep, when she does become verbally or emotionally mean and cruel, he'll just take it because he doesn't rock the boat, because happy life, happy wife, happy life, right? But not like that. And that further emasculates him, and she loses trust and respect in him. And so that's the other extreme. We have the tyrannical, right? And then we have the nice guy who will just be a yes man. And ladies, you don't want a yes man. And also that inner masculine, we don't need that in there either. He needs to be solid. You know the difference? You feel the difference between when your man is choosing you, or when your man is choosing to offer something devotionally to you, versus when it feels like he just should do it just to please you and get you off his back. You see, there's a huge difference. And so that is just yet another expression of the unhealthy, unintegrated, distorted masculine, is when he comes out as just a yes man. If you have a genuine pleaser on your hands, okay, that's a whole different scenario because he is fully choosing that, and he is nourished by giving to you. So I'm curious to hear what in this is resonating with you, and if you have not started to really explore connecting with the source masculine and from this perspective, from this lens, or connecting with your inner masculine, or if you find that maybe your inner masculine and feminine, they're just really at odds. She doesn't trust him. He doesn't follow through. He says he's going to do something and then he doesn't. And she's like, see, I can't count on you for shit. So start in those two camps, right? Connecting with the source, feel real, like really feel what that feels like in your body, in your heart, in your spirit. That presence of the sacred masculine source and the mother as well, the sacred feminine, the mother, in that consciousness. If you are the creation and there is the father and the mother, connect with them both, and then find that reconciliation within yourself. And again, if there's more that you do want to explore with more guided support, more practices, exercises, rituals, things like that, then check out the links in my description for some course recommendations. And then if you're interested in actually working with me one-on-one, I'm going to add that link in this specific episode for you to book an introductory call with me. And we can go deep into the specific areas that you need to go. So thank you for joining me for this episode. And until next time, here's to liberating your wild feminine heart.